So we're back on the command line of our CentOS 7 system. I've already installed Target.CLI and Target.d. So let's then just take a look at running Target.CLI. So we're going to run this as root, and it takes me into the interactive shell. As we saw in a slide then running ls, we're able to see the directory structure that we have within the configuration. This is a JSON configuration, JSON, and we can see then that a configuration exists. But as we look across our storage objects and targets, we don't have any at the moment. We can then go through our directory structures and we can use tab completion, so things like backstore and then B for block. And we can go through then and run the create subcommand from there, and then my, let's say, _san and connect in /dev/sdb. If I run the listing now, we can see that, sure enough, we've then got the 1 gig drive that is connected, and it shows as my SAN. So I can use Control-L even whilst I'm in this utility. If we go through now into the iSCSI directory and then choose create, and then IQN, so today's date, well, we're in 2015 and it's currently April. Then .com, .pluralsite, and then we'll just call this SAN1. So this is then our IQN, or our iSCSI qualified name. It's a unique identifier. As we then hit the enter command, we can see when we run the listing that we've got a little bit more that's being created now. So we've created then the target, and then we've got a target group in there, and we can see then the ACLs, LUNs and portals, and we've got one portal, and we can see then that we're running on port 3260 and we're listening on all IP version 4 interfaces. So again, that would need to be opened through the firewall. We can move into these directories as well, so let's just clear out our screen and use CD and then go into iSCSI. And then I can just tab through on this and then into that TPG1 directory. So we can see even on the screen here, it's shortening some of the output to give me a reasonable prompt to be able to work with. And then in the LUNs subdirectory, we're going to now link. So we're creating a logical unit, and we're going to link a LUN by connecting it to our root and backstores and my SAN. Now we're going to set the attribute, so we're going to set attribute and then demo _ mode _ write _ protect equals 0. So this is going to be in place of our access control list. Remember what we're saying in the slides, that if we have an access control list, then we're only allowing that IQN in. But if we want to not set that, then we can quickly go through and set this attribute. The idea being that if we set the ACL, we're only allowing one client. When we turn off then this, where we don't have an ACL, the problem that we're going to have is that multiple people could be accessing the same disk and formatting it up differently. So having turned that off now, we'll be able to use this normally without having to set then the access control. The access control is actually no more difficult than this really, just going through and specifying the client that is allowed to connect. If I go back now to the root and then run ls, we can see the configuration that we've created. If I then use the exit command, we save this configuration. This means that when we go back in and run ls, we have then the same configuration as we had left. Let's exit back out of this. If we use the netstat command and then look for our listening TCP, and let's just use then the port number, we can see that we're listening on port 3260, so this is the iSCSI port address. And if we are using a firewall, then we would need to make sure that this was open through our firewall. When we look at the iSCSI client, we'll be using the local host, so that's going to pass through the firewall with everything allowed from the local host. Let's return then to the slide so we can see how to configure the iSCSI client.